I have my airbrush station, which you can sort of see here, right next to me. And I got the computer kind of far away from the airbrush station. So please forgive me for being a little out of sorts. All right, so I am going to be painting my bridge. I'm going to be airbrushing my bridge. I've gone back and forth a little bit about how I want to handle this. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by airbrushing the bridge, the concrete color first, or the cement color, whatever you want to call it. And then I'll come back in here later and airbrush the side frame or the side portion of it, the color that it's going to end up being. Second. But this is a big, awkward piece, and so it might be a little tricky to airbrush. We're going to do the best we can today. We're also going to be airbrushing for the first time using Tamiya paints. For my cement color, I'm going to be using a medium gray, so it's kind of a brownish gray. I think that'll make a good medium color. And yeah, where we left off with the bridge last time was that I applied the concrete texture, and then after that I primed it. So now if you can see, I went back and sanded it down a little bit more just to remove some of the raised bits, but it's got a really nice kind of rough concrete texture on it, just to give it a little something extra. Before we go on any further, I want to make sure that I'm actually sounding good on my live stream. And I'm sounding excellent on my live stream. I really like this new wireless lav mic setup that I have going here. Hey, who do we got in the stream? We have Al. Hi, Al. How's it going? Hopefully you're having a good day. I'm going to try to respond to as many live stream questions as possible. I do have my computer a little farther away from my airbrush, and I'm going to be blocking it with some cardboard just to keep the overspray from getting to the computer itself. So I may not be answering or responding as much on streams as you guys would hopefully like. Fighting my airbrush, newbie, Al says. Yes, I am newbie as well. I use my airbrush enough to know that I'm not using it properly. There's just something about airbrushing that is really rather tricky. It's really about the paint mix, it seems to me, that that's the really tricky part of things. I'm using Tamiya paint for the first time today, and I hear it's easier. My biggest issue with paint mixing is, up to this point, I've used Vallejo paints. So like this kind of paint here. I don't know if that's in focus or not. I can't really tell from this far away. Which is a water-based acrylic paint, which is fine. You can airbrush with it just fine. But it seems like the mixture of paint to water doesn't give me a nice smooth. Well, the biggest issue I think is that when I lay it on, especially a thin coat, when I'm actually doing a spraying on quite a bit of water and a little bit of paint, and so it just seems to want to run. And from what I've seen from others, these alcohol-based acrylics like Tamiya paints just mix better in the airbrush, spray on a little finer, a little cleaner. We will find out today because it's the first time I'm trying it. Nozzle keeps clogging. My nozzle keeps clogging too. Al, I think the biggest problem with the nozzle clogging is that you're using too much paint. There's the paint to thinner ratio is not as nice as it needs to be. I use to thin paints. I use a couple of things. Here's a airbrush thinner from Vallejo. That works well for that. I also use, this is cheaper. This is airbrush. This is by US Art Supply. This is airbrush reducer and extender base. I use that instead of the water for the most part when it comes to water-based acrylic paints. But that said, still have problems. One thing that I did do with airbrushing is I didn't really start on airbrushing models. I started actually airbrushing my scenery first. And I think doing it that way, I think it does a good job of, you get a little bit of forgiveness if things don't come out 100% perfect, because it's scenery. It's not, you know, you're soaking paint into ground foam and static grass and stuff. So if it's not coming out perfect, it's not going to really be seen. It can be painted over easily, that kind of stuff. Okay. It's a balancing act. Supposed to be ready to use. Al, I wonder, are you using the same stuff I am? I'm using Vallejo's Model Air paint, which is supposed to be ready to use right out of the bottle. Stick it in your airbrush and go. I don't know that that's necessarily true. I found that I have to thin those down a little bit as well. So I don't know. Don't take any advice from me on this stuff because I'm just as new as anyone else. So I am mixing right now, pouring a little bit of paint, mixing, pouring a little bit of paint, mixing. And what I'm trying to do is get a consistency of milk, like a skim milk consistency. I hear that is the consistency you want for this kind of thing. I tried fading a car with the airbrush using very, very little paint and a lot of water, and it was just a lot of water flowing all over the car. Oh, I'm already making a giant mess. Look at this. Oh boy. So I'll just know that you're not the only one. I'm frustrated as well. I know I'll get it eventually. It's a brand new tool. You know, with any brand new tool, half the battle is just learning how to use the tool, right? That's half the battle. All right. So I'm going to cover up my screen on my computer a little bit just to keep some of the spray away. So I may miss some of your comments, and I apologize for that. But we will do what we can do. All right. So, and also I apologize if it's loud. But again, you know, I have, hold on. I think if I, okay, this should be sound noise reduction. Let me actually listen to this and see what this sounds like. It should be reducing the noise of the airbrush machine right now. Am I muted? Can you hear me at all? Oh, no, you can't hear me. Okay. Okay. All right. Oh, duh. Turn on the airbrush. Here we go, Matt. Can you see this okay? Yeah, get the camera a little bit closer. And again, sorry about the sound, but here's what it is. Okay, I think it's going on well. Let me do this just to give a little more protection. Color's nice. It's going to take a couple of coats before it's looking the way I really want it to. I need a better way to hold this too. No, it's not going to look like that. Don't think about that part. All right, I think this is going to take 2 coats to get the way I want. now. Call that good. All right, here's the tricky part. So I gotta apply a lot of paint to this thing. My booth is not nearly big enough. This might be embarrassing to stream this live because it's such a tricky, awkward way to paint. So mix it up as nice as I can here. I only seem to do about half of this at a time. Now I know why those guys build their own paint booths. This is not the way to do it. I think I'm going to call this episode, Don't Do What I'm Doing. I'm making lots of mistakes on this one. Oh boy. This is going to take a couple of coats to do this right. All right, we're going to let this dry for a bit. I knew this was going to be tricky going in. Coverage seems better than Vallejo mixed with water. So I think we got that going for us. As I look at it though, the color is perfect. Color is really nice. I'm very happy with the color. That to me looks like poured cement that's been aging for a little bit. And this is all going to get weathered down and everything already anyway, right? So if it's not perfect, in the first coat or the second coat, it'll get there. Got a little bit of paint left in the pot, so I'm going to go ahead and spray that through. And then we will let this dry, come back to it. I'm probably going to do that off camera. And just give you some photos to show you how it all turned out. I don't know why this spurts like that whenever I just... We will let that dry and then do a second coat. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to show you how I clean my airbrush. Hey newbie, thin it out more. Yeah. Yeah. I think this went on here pretty thin. I think I did a fairly good job as far as like the thinness of it going on. Okay. So cleaning the airbrush, super simple. I'm going to come back to this color, so I'm not going to do a full breakdown cleaning, but I do fully break it down between cleaning sessions generally. But I'm going to start with some 91% isopropyl alcohol. I'm just going to start spraying that through. You see that okay? So I have this little jar here. I'm spraying my airbrush through. I'm going to give it a little bit of back pressure. I'm going to put my finger over this nozzle here. If I do it right. I'm being way too messy with it right now. Just give it a little bit of back pressure. That seems to help, I feel. Spray it all the way through. I'm going to cup a nice rub down on the inside. Down to where the needle is. This is where I grab a Q-tip. Where are my Q-tips? Where did my Q-tips go? Oh, they're over here. Somebody said I'm a great explainer. I don't know about that, but I teach art for a living. Well, not for a living. On the side, I teach art. So I've been doing it for a while. Okay, so I use a Q-tip, kind of get down in there around the needle. Just being gentle in that area here. A little bit of isopropyl alcohol on it. And then to help kind of keep from clogging further, I always do clean the needle tip. Gently, because I don't want it to bend. Pull some air through there. All right, and I'm going to pour a little more isopropyl alcohol in here, just a bit. I'm going to sit with it soaking in there like that, so that when I come back and do my second coat, I'm just going to spray that isopropyl alcohol through it. Make sure it's spraying through okay, and then I'm going to fill it back up with paint and go for a second coat. This first coat went on pretty well. A couple of tough spots, but as I'm looking at it here, it's nearly dry at this point. And it's looking pretty good. Like I said, I'm going to be weathering it down more. So even those rough spots, even those rough spots are going to get taken care of, adjusted in the weathering process. But again, this is like a big awkward building structure. So painting it was never going to be not awkward. But it's getting there. Okay, cool. I'm going to call this good for now for this video. It's a bit of a weird one, I understand, but do want to let this dry fully before I go a second pass at it. Just because I want everything to be as nice and as even as possible, so that when I'm laying the weather on top of it, I've got a nice base to weather from. But thank you everyone for joining me. If you have any further questions about airbrushing, leave them in the comments. I'll try to answer as much as I can. Like I said, I'm still new to this as well. I haven't done a whole lot of models. I've done enough scenery now that I kind of have I'm comfortable with it when it comes to that kind of thing. I'm still not feeling 100% comfortable when it comes to covering large surfaces like this road here with airbrush paint. There's nothing wrong with rattle can spray paint. Honestly, if you're feeling a little uncomfortable as well, don't feel like you have to use the airbrush just because that's what everyone else does. I've painted. Here, let me grab something here real quick. Here's some silos I'm working on for my cement factory. Painted these years ago with a rattle can spray paint. Nice even coating, looks good. Color's a little different than I would maybe necessarily want it to be today if I was doing it again. But it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly reasonable. I don't know if I'll be keeping it for the final model or not, but it's a great spray paint. There's nothing wrong with rattle can spray paint as well. So don't feel like you have to do the airbrush, right? Not necessary. Okay. Yep, I'm going to call this good for this video. Thank you, everyone, for checking out the video and spending some time with me. Thank you, Sparky. Thank you, DA. Thank you, Al. Thank you for everyone else who joined in the fun. I appreciate it. And I'll see everyone in a different stream.